These players are flying up our fantasy football rankings. We need to talk about them. I need to talk about where I'm going to rank them now because week one does change things, and there are some concrete things that you can learn from week one fantasy football. So we're going to talk about a couple of these guys. Let's start by talking about Keon Coleman of the Bills last night. Honestly, we didn't get to talk about Keon on any of today's videos because we recorded them last night, and we were watching kind of through there in the TV where I can see it in my basement. I was watching Keon Coleman, and I was pretty darn impressed with what he was doing. We do talk about him on a video tomorrow, but in terms of where I'm ranking Keon Coleman now, I think you've got to move Keon Coleman up your rankings quite a bit. Obviously, he had 25 points, and the touchdown that he had, you know, not super sustainable in the sense that it was a tip drill touchdown. It's not going to happen every week. And that accounted for probably, you know, 8 of his 25 points. But I'm looking at Keon Coleman now, and I'm, you know, fairly confident at this point in time that he's a guy that you can plug in your lineup and he's going to score 10 points as his floor. Like it looks like that's the case, where last year you had Keon Coleman and he was, you know, primarily being used as a big play guy. They weren't getting him a lot of target volume. In his first game in the NFL, or his first game this year rather, 11 targets. You saw the target volume go up. You saw him used in different ways, right? You saw him, instead of just being used on deeper routes, being used on out-breaking routes, even in-breaking routes, comebacks, things like that. And when Josh Allen was surgical in that game. And you saw him consistently not go to Khalil Shakir, not go to Dalton Kincaid. He went to Keon Coleman, which I think is a very good sign. Now, in terms of where we're ranking Coleman rest of the season, because I do think he deserves a ranking bump up here. You know, I think you've got to go move him at least. I moved Michael Pittman up to like the Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir range, but I honestly would put Keon Coleman back to back with Khalil Shakir as Khalil Shakir continues to get healthy. I'm going to put him ahead of a guy like Josh Downs because I thought the utilization was better for Keon Coleman, much better. I mean, Keon Coleman was on the field this week for all of his snaps, and Josh Downs was on the field less than Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman by a long shot. And Josh Downs is going to get healthy. But I mean, we're talking here like ranking him with Jalen Waddle. I would put him above Waddle rest of the season. Addison, I obviously am going to put him above Golden because Golden I'm not excited about utilization at all. But that puts him behind the tier of like Zay Flowers, Olave, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison. And then really it's that tier of like Diggs. Ricky Pearsall's got to be up here with Keon Coleman. I'll put Ricky Pearsall above Keon Coleman. That moves Keon Coleman in the wide receiver like 37 range. And so I'm a little bit more comfortable with that now that we've seen Keon Coleman actually be utilized like that in the passing game for the Buffalo Bills. And I know full well that they're not going to score 40 points every night, but is somebody that we're definitely moving up our rankings. And so it was definitely worth starting the video talking about him, as he really did look pretty good last night. So obviously we're doing this live and then doing it as a video after. So those of you guys in the comments, leave comments about what you think. We'll go over all of this afterwards. I'm going to talk about some running backs now. Let's talk about Javonte Williams. I had already moved up Javonte because, and you can let me know in the comments what you think of this, but Nathan actually has Javonte above Kenneth Walker. I think it's a little early for that. I think that's kind of a hot take. I have Kenneth Walker still above Javonte Williams. I have Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, and James Conner, and then Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams, Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm putting Javonte in that Pacheco, Pollard, Conner tier at this point. And the reason that I'm doing that is, again, because when you're looking at the utilization, that was really a backfield where we didn't know what was going to happen there. We didn't know who the lead back was going to be. Obviously, they brought in Miles Sanders. They drafted Jaden Blue. And so we're looking at that backfield, and we don't really know who's going to be the lead back there. And it's very clear from the snaps on Thursday night that it's going to be Javonte. 47 to Miles Sanders, 11 snaps. And so obviously he had 17 points, but you have to keep in mind 12 of those points came from touchdowns, okay? And so you do have to realize that Javonte's not scoring. You know, he had 20 points. 17 of those were from rushing. 3 of those were from receiving. So without the touchdowns, you know, he's at 8 points. And I'm not saying discount the touchdowns because that's part of being a running back where, you know, you are the main guy and you're getting all the volume. But with Javonte, you do have to realize he's not going to score 2 touchdowns every week. I do think no matter who the running back 2 is this year, it looks like they're committed to Javonte Williams. And honestly, Javonte looked pretty good. He had 15 attempts for 54 yards. So, you know, a little bit so-so in terms of efficiency, but 3.5 yards per carry. Not great. But again, 20 points. And again, he's in an offense that looks like that offense is going to be more competent than we thought it would be. And he's getting all the valuable work there. And so I think Javonte is a guy that we've got to move up. It's just a matter of, again, how high. I have him as a low running back 2 right now, which again, I think the offensive situation suggests actually he could be higher than that. The problem with Javonte is that we've not really ever seen him sustain this over the course of the entire season. And so we need to be a little bit careful. He's the running back 5 after week 1, though. And again, got 80% of the snaps there in week 1. I don't know what else you want to see from Javonte Williams. So I'm very excited about him, moving him up in my rankings this week. I haven't done this one yet, but I'm going to do it right now. Let's talk about Breece Hall. I have Breece at 16 preseason behind Alvin Kamara, James Cook, Kyren Williams, Martin Hampton, Jonathan Taylor. I don't feel particularly bad about any of those players, but I'm going to move Breece ahead of those guys. And I'm going to put Breece as a top 12 running back now in fantasy football. And here is why. I think if you watched the game, I think you noticed that Breece actually looked really good in this game. Breece looked like old Breece. And we could talk about Breece Hall and how he looked good, and I do think he looked quick. He was hitting his holes. He looked athletic. He looked like a good pass catcher, just like the Breece Hall we all know and love. That was the running back 2 in a year where he was coming off an ACL tear, and it was the most impressive comeback from an injury that I had seen in a while from a running back in fantasy football. But I think you can equally talk about how good the Jets offense looked. And by good is relative, right? I'm not saying the Jets offense looked like the Bills offense. What I'm saying is the Jets offense has Justin Fields as their quarterback, and they were in a shootout with the Steelers of all teams, and they could still end up being very bad. And I do think they're still a bottom 15 offense easily. But I think everybody would agree that the offense looked more competent there than we thought it would. And so with that in mind, I think, Breece, a lot of people were writing him off because of Braylon Allen. And I just want to talk about this real quick as well, because I'm moving Breece up to the top 12. And Braylon Allen's, I can't wrap my mind around why Braylon Allen is a stumbling block for people who want to invest in Breece or who want to believe in Breece. Because when I'm looking at Braylon Allen, 31% snap share compared to Breece Hall's 58, 6 rushing attempts compared to Breece Hall's 19, and 0 targets compared to Breece Hall's 4. I don't know what else you want to see in terms of split there. Every backfield in the NFL is going to be a split backfield to some extent. And I honestly think that this backfield, even though Breece only had 58% of snap share, I honestly think that even though he rotated, he dominated this game. And so they also have Isaiah Davis there, by the way. But when you're looking at the running back usage, he outsnapped Braylon Allen 36-19. On early downs, it was 25-13. On the goal line, it was 4-2. And in the 2-minute drill, it was actually Isaiah Davis that was there. And third down was Isaiah Davis. And so Braylon Allen's a non-factor here. In fact, you could make the argument that Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis combined could eat into Breece's workload. But again, what I would point to is his production in week 1, 16.5 points. And he didn't score a touchdown. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry against. It's a respectable Steelers defense. I feel like everybody can agree with that one. And so that's why I'm excited about Breece after week 1. And honestly, I was getting some crap. I took him in the 3rd round of a fantasy draft, and people were like, that's insane. And I was kind of second guessing myself, like, maybe it is insane. Maybe I'm way too high on Breece. But if Breece looks anything like he did this week, he's going to be, in my opinion, a monster for fantasy football. I can't help but put him as a top 12 running back. And the situation there is every bit as bad as Jonathan Taylor's situation on the Colts. And in my opinion, Breece Hall, as a running back right now, is every bit as good as Jonathan Taylor. And so, when you're comparing situations like that, I'm very comfortable moving Breece up in my fantasy football rankings this week. And I think rest of the season, you have to look at Breece Hall and you have to be pretty encouraged. Let's talk about a wide receiver now. Let's talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba. And really what jumps off the page with JSN is the utilization here, because he had a 56% target share in this game. 56. Now, guys, I know that this is not sustainable. I'm not saying, this is what JSN's... Look, everybody knows that he's not going to have that. But what's interesting about JSN, because we all offseason kind of maintained the opinion that JSN was going to be the guy there, that he was going to dominate, and that Cooper Kupp wasn't anything. Cooper Kupp in this game had 3 targets, caught 2 of them, had 15 yards. He ended us with 3.5 fantasy points. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he played less snaps than Cooper Kupp and had 10 more targets, 13 targets, caught 9 of them for 124 yards. JSN had 0 touchdowns this week. Okay, and so when you're looking at Jackson Smith-Njigba, 19.5 fantasy points on a 77% snap share. And he's playing like, last year you had JSN. And what you saw, I think, in terms of utilization between these 2 wide receivers, which was kind of a question we had coming into this season, because Cooper Kupp late in his career has been so good out of the slot. What you saw with JSN is that he actually was playing outside a lot. And my goodness, this offense funnels through their best player. And the best player in this offense, in my opinion, it's not relatively close at this point, it's not debatable, is Jackson Smith-Njigba. JSN looks like if you got him in the 3rd, you got him at an absolute freaking steal of a price. And I know he's not, again, I know it's 1 week. I'm not trying to overreact here. But this is a new offensive system where the question really was, how will he fit alongside Cooper Kupp? And what this week should have proved to you is that there are no issues here. that he is going to be the dominant alpha wide receiver one of that offense, and Cooper Kupp is not. And it doesn't mean Cooper Kupp can't still be productive, but it does mean that Cooper Kupp's not going to affect 23-year-old JSN, by the way. I mean, JSN has such a bright future ahead of him. But, in terms of the preseason, it said Kupp has played 47.8% of his snaps in the slot, and JSN's only 27.5%. The fact that they're able to move JSN outside a little bit more and he still be this efficient on a per touch, per opportunity basis, extremely, extremely impressive to me. And so, whereas before we had JSN, we were still pretty bullish on JSN compared to everybody else in the industry at 13, right? That's where I had him ranked preseason. But honestly, I would move JSN up to probably 10 at this point behind Drake London. I'm still going to keep BTJ there. Around AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, still in that range, but I'm just more comfortable right now saying that I think JSN is going to still be a 17 to 20 point guy this year. And that is saying a lot. That is saying a lot for JSN. So obviously very excited about Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I think if you drafted him in the third, if you went double running back and started with JSN as your wide receiver one, I mean, that is a huge thing for you. Again, averaged 15 points per game last year. And it looks like, he has every tool in the offensive system to take a step forward this year. And so very excited about him. And I honestly think he's going to kill this year. Let's pivot to Ameca Egbuka, the rook. The rook that I had as one of my guarantees for week one because, I thought it was fairly obvious that he was going to do well with the matchup, with the Vegas line, with the opportunity. Now, the one thing with Ameca Egbuka that I think was a little bit disappointing for me was the fact that he only had 6 targets in this game. And he caught 4 of those. So really only 4 receptions here and 2 touchdowns. So you're talking about, in terms of his 23.6 fantasy points, you're talking about 50% touchdown rate in terms of the ratio of his touchdown points to his overall fantasy points. And that is slightly concerning to me, but at the same time, when you're looking at the total utilization here, the snaps, 54 for Ameca Egbuka, and Mike Evans was 48, Sterling Shepard with 37, Ryan Miller with 9, Tez Johnson with 8. So he's on the field more than everybody. I think the number one thing that people are going to look at for Ameca Egbuka and be concerned about is Chris Godwin coming back, because Jalen McMillan was going to be a question. I honestly think that they move Ameca Egbuka to play Jalen McMillan's role when Chris Godwin comes back. Or I don't know. I do think it's also possible that they're just like, yeah, we're going to let Egbuka play the Godwin role and Godwin's going to play, because they've moved Godwin outside before and not played him exclusively as a slot wide receiver. And Godwin's not been as productive. And maybe that's what's in the cards this year. I don't know what they're going to do with Egbuka, but I can tell you this right now. For a rookie that was, as much as we heard about Egbuka throughout the entire preseason, for him to come out and do what he did in week one after all of that hype, not from us, even though we were hyping him, but not even from us. The hype was from the Buccaneers. And then he comes out and does what it did, and he did what he does in week one. I don't see how you take him off the field at that point. In terms of targets, Mike Evans out-targeted him. Sterling Shepard had as many targets as him. But I do think with Ameca Egbuka, honestly, I think he reminds me a little bit of second-year JSN in terms of how he's going to be utilized, where the target volume is not going to be crazy here, but you are going to see him, convert a lot of touchdowns. JSN last year had a lot of games of 6 to 7 targets, 6 to 7 targets, right? 4, 5, 6 targets, but he had games of 12, 11, 13. I think he's going to have those games. Now, I do think it's going to become increasingly more difficult for Egbuka to have those games when Chris Godwin comes back, because he is going to take targets. But in terms of where we're ranking Ameca Egbuka right now in our fantasy football rankings, I think I have to put him, at least for the time being, right above George Pickens. I can't move him up too much because I was so high on him before. But I do think he's somebody that most people are going to have to move up their rankings. They have no choice to do that. I honestly don't blame them. The real question is, and what we're going to have to figure out, is basically how much is this going to change when Chris Godwin comes back in that offense. You can let me know in the comments what you think about that. I personally think that they like Ameca Egbuka enough, they're invested in him enough, they think highly of him enough that they're not going to take him off the field, and it's not going to matter. So very, very excited about what we saw from Ameca Egbuka in week one. Okay, one guy that I want to talk about that we could have moved up our rankings, but we're probably not going to be able to do, unfortunately, is Ricky Pearsall. Because the thing with Sticky Ricky is he looked good, and honestly, he didn't have a touchdown. He had some bigger plays, which is kind of what Ricky Pearsall is going to do in terms of how he's going to get his points. He had 108 yards on 4 receptions. He did have 7 targets, but that's what you're going to get from Ricky Pearsall. He's a wide receiver 19 on the week so far. That's the kind of player Ricky Pearsall is. I think he is going to have some weeks where he only scores you 5 points. The reason that we can't really necessarily, we already have him ranked pretty aggressively. I already moved him up a little bit after last week. And right now, in terms of where we have him ranked in our rankings for rest of season, we do have him like right where Keon Coleman is, Jordan Addison, Rashee Rice, behind DJ Moore, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers. Honestly, we can talk about Zay Flowers as the last guy here. But the reason I think that you can't move him up, obviously, is because Brock Purdy is maybe not going to play in week 2. Status in limbo for week 2. They're going to give him the whole week to rest. I mean, he's got 2 injuries. He's got a toe, which is pretty bad for quarterbacks. He's got a shoulder, also very bad for quarterbacks. And Mac Jones is the backup quarterback there. And look, I mean, we saw last year, especially with big play wide receivers. I will say this. The reason I'm not moving Ricky Pearsall down if Brock Purdy misses time, number one, I think it's because it's a very short-term injury for Brock Purdy. But number 2, we actually saw with Mac Jones, a big play wide receiver last year, Brian Thomas Jr., produced with Mac Jones. And Mac Jones going to a Kyle Shanahan offense, I don't think that it's impossible that he actually supports a Ricky Pearsall in this type of offense. So Ricky looked great. It was about what we expected, but again, on his good games, this is what you're going to get. He didn't even have a touchdown, and he was very good. And so I like Ricky. We have to be a little bit careful with him, though, solely based on the fact that we don't know what the status of Brock Purdy is going to be in the coming weeks. Okay, real quick, one last guy I want to talk about is Zay Flowers. I think you have to move Zay Flowers up to at least like the low-end wide receiver 2 range, so like around Terry, Cortland Sutton, where I have Travis Hunter. I don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. I'm moving Tyreek Hill down even more, but I think you have to do this because really what you saw last night from Zay Flowers, and this is not something that we didn't. Everybody who is victory lapping Zay Flowers after one game is saying this. I thought Zay Flowers had no ceiling. I thought Zay Flowers couldn't score touchdowns, blah, blah, blah. And nobody ever said that. Because it's not like we haven't seen Zay Flowers have big games before. Zay Flowers last year had games of 22, 19, 22, 29 points. So we've seen Zay Flowers have these types of games before. This is not new. In fact, when he scored 29 points last year, it was only on 6 targets. He had 2 touchdowns in that game, and it was against Denver in week 9. Whereas you're looking at yesterday, he had 9 targets. He had 1 touchdown, but he had 143 yards. He had a bunch of plays and supplemented his production with yardage. The thing with Flowers is, again, it's not like we didn't think this was possible. This is what it is with Flowers. It's between the 22 and 19-point games last year, you had a 5-point game and a 2-point game. Between the 22 and an 18-point game, you had a 4-point game. Between the 29 and 11-point game, you had a 7-point game. And last 2 weeks of the season, you had a 5-point game. And then you had a 3-point game when he barely played in the Cleveland game last week of the year. And where did he finish last year? He had 5 games over 20 points last year. Fact check myself. Not even that. 1, 2. He had 3 games over 20 points last year. I think 5 games over 15. And where did he finish? He was a high-end wide receiver 3. He's a wide receiver 25 in PPR leagues, 116 targets. Last night, he had 9 targets. And so obviously, if you extrapolate that, I mean, he would be getting a lot more targets. I don't think Zay gets this many targets a game. I don't think they're throwing the ball as much as they did. They're not going to be a shootout with the Bills. You make the argument for Keon Coleman that they're not going to be scoring 40 points every game. The same thing applies here. And so as much as I loved watching Zay last night, nobody was saying that he wasn't capable of this. We all know that Zay Flowers can drop 28 points. It's consistency for Flowers. And if Zay Flowers consistently gets 8 to 10 targets a game, I'll shut my mouth and I'll move him way up my ranking. And I am moving him up. I still did move him up my rankings into like the low-end wide receiver 2, mid wide receiver 2 range, which is fairly aggressive for Zay Flowers, in my opinion, based on his range of outcomes. But still, with Zay Flowers, it's 1 week, and we knew he was capable of doing this, and nobody was saying, that he wouldn't. Again, I've seen so many people victory lapping after 1 week. Let's see it over. He's playing Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, and Houston in the next 4 weeks. Let's see a 4-week sample size for Zay Flowers before we go crowning him, even though he was the wide receiver 1 so far in fantasy football this week and the 6th most productive player in fantasy football. All these guys are moving up our rankings, and it's only going to continue to change as we go through the NFL season. So appreciate you guys watching that. Make sure you drop a like, by the way, if you're watching. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to go to the comments now. Tell me what your thoughts are on these players, and we can kind of discuss them. I'm kind of curious what thoughts you guys had on the guys we were discussing here. But I think again, all these guys you can make pretty good arguments for. So Likely being out boosted Flowers substantially, so you also have that, right? I mean, you do have Likely being out, and so that does make a difference. So Likely is a 3 to 5 target per game guy. So Zay killed it. Wish I could have drafted him. Yeah, that's Lauren. I read your name after that. Lauren's sitting in the studio. What else? Zay just doesn't get red zone targets. Yeah, and I don't know. I actually didn't even look at his red zone utilization last night. But again, if he's very capable of big down the play, or down the field plays. Like, I mean, we knew that. We knew that. Red zone targets. We don't have the numbers for last night yet, but yeah, that is something that is a little bit of a concern for him. So, we're going Zay or Judy next week since they play against each other. I would probably lean Zay Flowers there. I'd probably just take the wide receiver in the better offense there if I were you. So you guys can drop any questions you have as well. We're just hanging out before the game. We've got about 35 minutes before the game, so we will be answering questions, hanging out. But yeah, yesterday was fun. Honestly, I think yesterday was one of the better slates of football that we've had for week 1 in quite a while. I mean, last night's game was a top 10. I don't know if you guys agree with this. It was a top 10 game, NFL regular season game I've ever watched. It was incredible. It was incredible. Doc says, if I trade for Fannin, do I have to watch him run? Seems like a stud, though. Yeah, you probably would have to watch him. But Fannin is somebody that, honestly, if you guys are watching and you watch our Dynasty channel, we kind of look like meatballs for that one because we ranked him a little bit low on our last rookie rankings, and people were like, yeah, you're pretty stupid for that. And we were right. I don't know how we missed that. Like, I don't, everybody's talking about all these reports that Fannin was looking really good in training camp, and I'm like, well, they were all right, and we were stupid, so we should just listen to you guys more. That's also what's going on. So, yeah, we can do trade questions tonight, Vice City. I can pull those up. Kraft or Njoku at tight end. Right now, I think you go Kraft. Kraft has the touchdown upside. I think Kraft did have 1 touchdown this week, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure how many other points he had. Nine points with a touchdown, and that's really what you're going to get out of Tucker Kraft. So, Njoku, on the other hand, though, what did he do this week? He had 6. So he had 6 targets, only caught 3 of them, though. I would probably say Kraft for now. That offense looks very good, and honestly, the Green Bay Packers look great, in my opinion. How concerned are we? I'm curious in the chat. How concerned are we about, like, the Ben Johnson effect on that Detroit Lions offense? Because, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, the Detroit Lions offense did not look like the Detroit Lions offense yesterday. Did not. Now, there was a little bit of this as well. You have to remember, the year after the Eagles won their first Super Bowl, there was a little bit of this when the Colts hired Shane Steichen away from the Eagles, and the Eagles offense just didn't look good that next year. And so a lot of people were like, Shane Steichen was the reason that the Colts offense, or that the Eagles offense was good. But then, of course, the Eagles offense, as they just kind of worked through their coordinator chains, ended up getting to a Super Bowl level again. So I'm curious how worried you are about the Ben Johnson stuff. So, I think the Green Bay defense is really good. I agree with you. I think Green Bay, hot take, I think Green Bay is the team to beat in the NFC. I think they're so good. I think they're so darn good. I think they're so well coached. I think Jordan Love isn't a superstar, but he's very good at quarterback. I wish they'd play Matthew Golden more, to be honest with you. I love Josh Jacobs, of course, and their defense is elite. Their defense is elite, and their offense is good enough to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion. So the defense is freaking legit on the road. Yeah, I know. So I agree with you guys. So Brady says Nico or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Pearsall. If you're talking about starting these guys, I'm still starting Nico over those guys every single week. Not freaking out about Nico Collins after last week's game. Did Tyler Warren jump up in your rankings this week? I can't say he did, Lauren, because I already had him pretty high. I mean, we were pretty high on Lauren, on Warren. Nice. On Warren, even before the season. I had him as my Dynasty tight end 3. I had him as my tight end 5, though. So we had him behind Kittle, Laporta, and Warren. That's as high as you would have seen anybody on Tyler Warren before the season. And so it's just a matter of, do you rank him above Laporta, who also had 14 points in yesterday's game? But rest of the season, you also have Kittle, who's hurt. I would take Tyler Warren rest of the season over George Kittle, probably, just because of the injury. Is that a hot take? Let me know in the comments. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I probably would take Tyler Warren over George Kittle rest of the season. So Elijah says, what's Coleman's Dynasty value now? We're going to have a Dynasty video on that tomorrow, so make sure you got your noties on because we are going to have a full breakdown of some big risers for this week for Dynasty Fantasy Football. KT says, I'm not that worried overall, but I definitely moved everyone down but Gibbs. Well, that suggests that you're worried. I haven't moved any of them down yet, so that's kind of where I'm at. Mr. Nice Guy says, keep in mind that last year after week 1, the top 4 wide receivers were Reed, Kupp, Lazard, Tyreek, so we'll maybe see if Flowers continue. Yeah, exactly. That's 100% correct. And as somebody who was out on Flowers, I'm not taking my L yet. If you were in on Flowers, you shouldn't victory lap. There should be no victory laps, and there should be no L's after week 1. There are definitely some things you can learn with lower depth chart players or guys you were drafting past the 9th round that you can say with certainty after week 1 that we were incorrect about. But I'm not going to completely take an L yet on Zay Flowers as well, and I don't think anybody should be victory lapping that. So what do you think about ETN? I got offered Garrett Wilson for ETN and JMO. Look, ETN is a guy that confidently I can say might have been a guy after week 1 that we might have been wrong about. Might have been. I don't know, but he had 16 attempts for 143 yards, 8.9 yards per carry. Obviously had that big run that boosted that up, but 3 receptions, 13 yards. And when you're looking at the utilization for ETN, I mean, he played the majority of the snaps there at running back. He had 40 snaps compared to Tank Bigsby's 14. Like, he really did outsnap them. And by the way, Bigsby Tootin is droppable. LaQuint Allen Jr. outsnapped Bigsby Tootin in this game. And so, I see you over there, Becca. I know you're doing. When you look at that production, I mean, that's that utilization, that's pretty freaking indicative, I think, of how they're going to use Travis Etienne. And so ETN, I don't even think we talked about. We can talk about ETN real quick. I got to move him up my rankings too. Actually, really, really need to move ETN up my rankings here. I would probably put ETN with Javonte. Don't you guys think? Over Pacheco. I think you have to. He got the lion's share of that backfield. What did Monty end up doing yesterday? I saw him being used, and I know he had quite a few receptions because I saw them throwing a lot to him. So he had 4 receptions, 4 targets. He only had 8 points though because he didn't have a touchdown. That's probably Monty's floor though, so I'll leave Monty where he's at. But I've got to move ETN up with Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams, James Conner in my opinion. Now I know RJ Harvey as well because I'm kind of looking at this whole tier of running backs here. Like RJ Harvey, on the other hand, he did have 7 points, but again, 5 of those points was a 50-yard run. So outside of that, he only played 29% of snaps. A little bit murky. I'm telling you right now, we've already started working on our our week 2 rankings for this week, and it gets murky because when you're looking at guys like RJ Harvey at 29% snap share, right? When you're looking at guys like Travion Henderson, who still played well and still did have, I think, 6 catches in this game, 11 points. He only played 35% of snaps though, so it's a little bit of a murky situation there in terms of the backfield share. Okay, when you're looking at guys like that. Makes it really hard to rank these guys. And so, especially on a week-to-week basis. So we're going to do our best with flex spot rankings there. But even Genty, I mean, this is what's super interesting to me about Genty. So what is this? He had 38 yards on 19 attempts. So, I mean, that's, okay, easy math. 19 attempts for 38 yards. He had 2 yards per carry and a touchdown. Without having that touchdown, he scores 6 points on the day. And he had 2 receptions for 2 yards. I mean, Genty straight up. Everybody wanted to talk about Omarion Hampton and how he looked bad and how he was inefficient. Genty was less efficient than Omarion Hampton on more opportunities. He had 4 more opportunities than Hampton total on 86% snap share with only 12 points in his debut against the Patriots, who defensively are okay, but nothing to write home about. Nobody wants to talk about that. And right here's the thing. I'm not even saying you should talk about it because I'm not overreacting on Genty at all. I think Genty is great. But there is a huge double standard right now with how we're looking at Omarion Hampton in his rookie debut with Ashton Genty. Because honestly, Genty was every bit as inefficient as Omarion Hampton in his NFL debut. You're talking about pretty much the same situation here. And nobody's talking about Genty, but everybody wants to short Hampton for it. So you got to keep that same logic. You got to keep that same energy with Ashton Genty if you're going to be that way with Omarion Hampton. I'm not worried about either of them. This is their first game in the NFL. I'm not going to move them down. I'm not going to freak out about them because of the matchup in week 1 and because of their Bigsby got traded? Holy smokes. Okay, wow. Okay, so Tank Bigsby to the Eagles. Let's break this down. So clearly, man, that stinks. I'm going to send you this link, Becca. You can pull it up on Twitter. In your chat. Clearly the Eagles are going to get Tank Bigsby for him to be Saquon's backup. I mean, this would move Will Shipley down to the running back 3 position. And so, look, in terms of Tank Bigsby, I still think when you're talking about his value in fantasy football right now, where I'm going to be ranking Tank Bigsby after this move, I think you still have to rank him with like a Brian Robinson, for example. So I have Brian Robinson in the 40s here, like with Rashad White, with Najee Harris, and all the other backups. And that's honestly where I think you rank him. Again, unfortunately, Tank Bigsby, as good as he is, he goes to the Eagles where he's probably not going to get a ton of work. The bigger thing for this is, oh crap, I'm so glad this happened now because I am not going to drop Bigsby Tootin in the Flock League now. I am absolutely not doing that. Okay, I need to change this. So the bigger, I think, implications for this move are probably going to be the Jacksonville backfield. Because again, Bigsby wasn't used a ton in week 1, but honestly, it was enough for either LaQuint Allen Jr. or Bashal Tutin to get enough of a share to where they could be productive. But I think this says more about freaking Travis Etienne, because they were talking this whole time about potentially trading away Travis Etienne, and now they trade away Tank Bigsby after Etienne absolutely tears it up in week 1. I mean, I may have to move Etienne up my rankings even more. Let's see where the other guys have Etienne in their rankings, because in my opinion, this is a referendum on his performance yesterday and the fact that they have him at running back 22. So I do still have him lower than everybody. I'm going to move him up. I think you have to after that, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's your guys' number one takeaway here, is that they're very confident in Travis Etienne at the moment. That would be my number one takeaway. And so Tutin or Caleb Johnson, I think you still have to go Caleb Johnson there, but honestly, yeah, I'm keeping Tutin, man. I'm not dropping Tutin now. I think this lowers Saquon, says Meg. It sounds crazy, but I don't think Bigsby's a straight backup. I tend to disagree. I think similar to CMC, who there were some people making the argument that Brian Robinson would lower for him a little bit. I do think that this is the same kind of situation where CMC yesterday got 31 touches. I don't think, and you're looking at Saquon in week 1. I mean, let's pull up his touches real quick. Saquon in week 1 had 18 plus 5 touches. Well, technically plus 4, so 22 touches, and had 18.4 points and an 80% snap share. I don't necessarily think this is going to change. What's also interesting here is I wonder what the full terms of the deals are, because I don't think they're going to box Will Shipley out of the offensive scheme here. They actually had some plays, if you were watching in the game on Thursday night, they had some plays where they actually made the plays, they actually drew up the plays for Will Shipley. I think they continue to use Will Shipley. And so Tank Bigsby, I feel like, is going to be sharing the backup role with Will Shipley. I would say I would give Tank Bigsby the edge, obviously, because they did just trade for him, and why would they have done that if they were completely comfortable with Will Shipley? But in terms of where we rank Etienne, I just moved him up as we were sitting here. I would take him above Tracy, Swift, Monty, Caleb Johnson easily, Pacheco, Williams, Pollard, Connor, Harvey. I'd probably put him there with Chuba, Kenneth Walker, and Travion Henderson the rest of the season. That's running back 20. Oh my good gosh. If you drafted Travis Etienne in your leagues, you'll look like a genius for it. And if you drafted Bashal Tutin, again, now you can't drop Bashal Tutin. Do not drop him. You have to keep him, and you have to see what this new information does for us in this new week. And so it's a 2026 5th and 6th was the trade. So that was pretty comparable to B-Rob's trade, I think. There was a 6th-round pick in that one as well. So again, I mean, I think they're paying for him to be the backup there in Philly. I think Travis Etienne to the moon. I mean, again, are you guys comfortable? Let's just play some would you rather here. Would you rather rest of the season have Chuba Hubbard or Travis Etienne? In the comments, go. Chuba Hubbard or Travis Etienne rest of the season. And then I'm going to have another one for you. I have a couple spicy ones here for you. Because I have Chuba now ranked back-to-back with Etienne. Probably going to find out Shipley's going on IR next. That would be true. 5 minutes ago, Toot is cuttable. I know, dude. Literally, as I said that, you guys were like, oh, by the way, now he's the running back too. I feel like the front office are screwing with me. Etienne, Chuba, Etienne, Chuba, Etienne, Chuba, Etienne, Chuba, 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 Etienne, Chuba, Chuba, Etienne, China. Duro's taking China. Etienne, Chuba. Eileen Chuba. Okay. So I'm assuming, because this actually was split about 60-40 here. So let's do another one here. Rest of season, are you guys easily taking Etienne over Kenneth Walker? Or the other way around. Are you still easily taking Kenneth Walker over Etienne rest of the season? Nathan says he has Etienne and Javonte back-to-back. That's about where I have Etienne above Javonte now. I have Etienne 4 spots ahead of Javonte. I have RJ Harvey there still, Tony Pollard there still. But I'm being pretty bullish with where I'm ranking Travis Etienne at the moment. So, holy smokies. So vote on the poll, Etienne or Kenneth Walker rest of season. What we're looking at. Drop a like if you're here, by the way. Wow. So Etienne is blowing Kenneth Walker out of the water here in our poll. I'm surprised. I know Nathan probably has ETN above Kenneth Walker now. A lot of people are still saying K9, which I don't feel like you can be that out on him yet after just 1 week. But I do have them ranked in the same tier at this point. So, wow. That's kind of crazy. Keep publishing our rankings. I'm going to have the full rest of season rankings updated on the site tonight. But yeah, so a 5th and a 6th round pick is what the Eagles send for Tank Bigsby here. And again, it's Tootin season now. It's ETN season now. I don't necessarily think it's Bigsby season, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not super excited about that. But ETN still 70% to Kenneth Walker's 31% right now. And so, yeah, the guaranteed touches are definitely something. Why do I want a 50% timeshare and a terrible offense with Walker? That's true. True. Okay, let's go higher then, because this is honestly a little high. Let's do another would you rather. Would you rather have rest of season ranks? Would you rather have Travion or would you rather have ETN? Okay, let's check that one. Let's see just how high. Does Mason have ETN in the Flock League? Oh my gosh. Axrock, just send us a DM on Discord or open a ticket on Discord and we'll help you out, man. Appreciate you. People forget how good Travis is. The Jags were shite last year. Yeah, well, Travis Etienne was also bad. And even Travis Etienne, when he was really good, he had a very high touchdown dependency rate. So, pretty sure my grandma could run for 100 yards in the Panthers. That's fairly true. Travion. Okay, so Travion. Okay, so I've got him ranked exactly where you guys would have him ranked, in the sense that I still do have Travion ahead of Etienne right now. And so, definitely think we're on the right track in terms of where we're putting these guys. I gotta move Charbonnet up too. I mean, I gotta move Charbonnet up next to Kenneth Walker probably, but I probably would take Etienne over both of them. I probably would take Connor, and I probably would take Pollard. So that's that. Still gotta sort all these out. I gotta move Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt up, I think. Wow. Okay, so interesting trade here that the champs are kind of loading up here still. So, yeah. All right, so we've got ETN rest of the season right now at 19. So I feel like that's about appropriate for Travis Etienne. What other questions do you guys have about that? That is very fascinating to me. I do feel like it was just a matter of time, and I do think this does mean that they're confident with Bigsby Tootin as their backup, even though they're playing, from a snaps perspective, they're playing with LaQuint Allen more right now. But I am going to edit my waiver claim, and I am not going to drop Bigsby Tootin anymore. No, I will not be doing that. Wow. Yeah. Yes, Tank Bigsby is an Eagle. Creative team. Panthers are a bad defense. Tootin takes over the backfield by week 6. Mark this down. Dude, if that happens, I would be on another planet happy. You have no idea. Travion got 6 catches, 0 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns, only up from here. That's true, and 11 points on that. Bigsby to the Eagles wide, maybe Saquon injury. No, I don't think so. I think they're just going for a viable workhorse backup there. He's a different type of backup than Will Shipley. Will Shipley's more of a creative usage, get him in space guy, where Tank Bigsby's more of a workhorse power back that you can use. I do wonder why they did feel like they had a need for that. That is interesting to me. So, yeah, ETN stocks to the moon, absolutely. How high do you have Boutte? I actually haven't moved Boutte up in my rankings yet, and I can do that right now and tell you how I want to put him. I'm very high on Boutte. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I am having a hard time in the Flock League. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm having a hard time in the Flock League, like forking up the money to pay for Boutte that I think I need to. So I might just let him go, honestly. I think I don't want to waste my waiver dollars on that. But in terms of where I have him, and I think you have to put him in the. I think you have to put him like by Jaden Higgins, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Luther Burden. I mean, that's aggressive, but that's where I would put him in that tier of guys right now. I got to move Debo up, of course. I have Debo astronomically low, and well, I look very smart for that at the moment, so I'm just gonna go ahead and move him up. Again, it's 1 week, but he looks better than I thought he would. Yeah, and I mean, you know, he didn't look as fat as I thought either. They got him to be a kick returner. Is that what Elijah says? Is that what it was for Tank Bigsby? Is that what the reports are? I haven't heard that yet. So they did. I can tell you that this says a lot about what the Jaguars think about Travis Etienne right now, which is huge if you own Travis Etienne. I cannot believe that Mason has him. Honestly, Mason's team is unfortunately much better than it was last year. Unfortunately. Butte over Jaden Higgins, and that's actually exactly where I ranked him, was right next to Jaden Higgins here. I have him right behind Jaden Higgins. I would probably say, you know, if we see one more week of 8+ targets for Butte, I will comfortably rank him above Jaden Higgins right now. I think Butte could be very good this year, to be honest with you guys. Like, I really do. So I'm being a little bit high on him. I honestly think that he might be the guy. So Will Shipley probably injured, pretty bad for them to get a good backup for Saquon. Yeah, that must be it. I mean, I guarantee we'll hear something like that. So that would honestly make the most sense of all the scenarios here. It would make the most sense if Will Shipley was hurt. Because honestly, I do feel like with the way they were using Shipley, I feel like they liked him. I mean, they were definitely utilizing him in a way that I wasn't expecting them to. And so definitely feeling okay about that right now. So do I drop Njoku for Harold Fannin Jr.? I would still hold Njoku here. I want to see more from Harold Fannin Jr. They're also both being used at the same time. So Butte or Hollywood Brown? I'd still take Hollywood right now at the moment. I think I do still have Marquise Brown. I have him a couple spots ahead. So I would still take Butte. Thoughts on Zay and Cup for T. Higgins? Ooh, good question, Graydon. Yeah, I mean, it's close. I don't think Cup's doing much in this deal, so it's Zay for T. Higgins. You can buy low on T. Higgins for that. I'd be comfortable with it, I think. They did really like Real Shipley. I agree. Like, I think this has to mean something's wrong with Shipley. I think that's what it has to mean. Why did the Eagles not trade for a cornerback? Well, they do have Quinion, and they do have Cooper DeJean. They have pretty good corners. They just weren't playing super well against. I don't know. I guess the Cowboys were dropping a lot of balls, so maybe they were. Is Ridley cooked? No, Ridley's not cooked. He had Pastor Tan shadowing him all day. And honestly, like, in hindsight, I guess I'm just gonna have to not. I'm like, my assumption going into that week for Ridley, that matchup, was that it was a little bit overblown how much it was gonna affect Ridley. No, he had 6 points. He really did shut him down. So I guess I'm just gonna have to really move guys down there getting shadowed by Pastor Tan at this point. Keenan Allen or QJ? I would probably say QJ there, but I honestly don't want any of those guys yet. I don't think the passing volume is going to be what it was in week 1 for the Chargers. Are you ready to see your boy Rome tonight? I need a 40 burger from him tonight in my Dynasty League. I am so ready to see Romo. If Romo Dunze has 20+ points tonight, I'm going to be so loud. It's ridiculous. Do I drop Pitts for Fannin? It's about the same. I would honestly maybe Pitts had 8 targets. So should I stream tight end this week or start Ferguson or Chig? I'd probably still start Fergie there. Have to hold Ingram on a short bench and redraft. Yeah, I think you have to. Well, I don't know. It depends on how serious the injury. I don't honestly know if I've heard how serious the injury is there for Evan Ingram. So, it honestly doesn't say. I need to check if anybody's reported on it. What did he even do? It wasn't a hamstring, was it? Calf. Oh, I hate that. Not Mark. That's a while ago. Evan. Yeah, that's marking is a throwback. Keenan Allen is back up Drake London if he's out. Okay, I see what you mean. If Drake London is out, sure, I'm fine trying to stream Keenan Allen if you need to. Fields or Herbert rest of season? Great question. I probably lean Fields, honestly. I think he's going to have more consistent upside than Herbert, but Herbert looks great. Bro, I need Rome to have less than 10 points tonight to win my matchup. He's going to have more than 10 points. Book it right here. Rome over 13 points tonight, please. Yeah, what do we need tonight to win? Spoiler alert, but I don't even care because you could have gathered this from Jamar Chase's game. I have 0 players left to play. I need Justin Jefferson to have negative 30 points for me to win tonight. So if Justin Jefferson has negative 30, I'm going to be in the driver's seat to beat Nathan. So, yeah, it was a bad week. Trust me. I got offered Waddle for Bill. Do I have to ignore Miami Vice and make that trade? No, I don't think you do. I think you hold Bill. I need Hawk to outscore Jordan Mason by 7 points to win. That's doable, but if Jordan Mason has a touchdown, you're probably cooked. Is Thielen going to be productive tonight? I wouldn't probably. I guess Addison's out. I could see Thielen having 6 points tonight. Drop Chubb or Bigsby. I would drop Bigsby before I drop Chubb. I mean, Chubb was still getting the majority of the carries there for the Texans this week. 51% snaps at 13 attempts for 60 yards, and he didn't have a touchdown. But I would still drop probably Bigsby first. I don't think Bigsby's going to be the workhorse guy there by any means. So you need 15 from the Swift and the Vikings D. If Swift scores a touchdown, you'll be good. Caleb and JJ to get 21 combined. You'll get that. Need under 5 from DJ Moore. You won't get that. Need 23 from Odunze. There's a chance, but probably not. Do you think Monangai will do anything? I told you guys this. If Monangai's on your waivers, you could pick him up before tonight's game. I would do it just in case, because what if he gets red zone touches tonight? His value is going to fly up. So I would take advantage of that while you can. Yeah, I did see the Eagles trading for Bigsby. Could I get Chase Brown for Pitts and Kamara? Maybe if somebody's trying to sell low on Chase Brown and trying to, buy high on Kamara, you could, but I would try it. Definitely try it. I don't think somebody's going to do that though. It depends on how competitive your league is. Jefferson to not get 26. I think there's a better chance of that happening than not. So 31 from JJ, I don't think it's going to happen. Under 5 from DJ Moore, I don't think it's going to happen. Jefferson and Jones to total -3. Doubt it, unfortunately. It's time to worry about BTJ. I have Egbuka, Pearsall, and CD. I'm assuming you're asking me, Mason, and my answer is no, I'm not worried about BTJ. Not yet. Hope Neighbors turns it around. Russ is scaring me. I agree with that, and I also think they should be starting Jackson Dart there. How far has Devonta Smith dropped? I haven't dropped him yet. Devonta Smith has 4 5-point games, and then he'll follow it up with an 18-point game. Nathan and I both. Nathan says he's buying Smith. I, have Devonta Smith, so I don't want to speak too aggressively about it, but I'm at the very least holding Devonta Smith, and so I'm up 22 with Swift and Mason. Opponent has JJ Stack. What are my chances of winning? You're up 22. You have Swifty and Mason. I would say you probably have a 60-65% chance of winning there. I think you have. You always have the upper edge when you already have the points. I could definitely see JJ McCarthy being slow tonight. Should I drop Samson for Monangai? No, please don't. No, hold Samson. Samson's a beast. Saw your video today. I was wondering if I should drop Luther for Samson. Yes, I would do that. Yeah, pick up Monangai. It's a free roll drop in tomorrow if he does nothing exactly. Dak, Rodgers, or Herbert. I think at this point you go Herbert. He has a little bit of floor on the ground as well. So Tyler's got AJ Brown. Yeah, I feel him, man. Oh, Tyler, you said who won this trade? AJ, Judkins, and Ridley for Worthy, Cup, and Kenneth Walker. You won that trade if you got AJ Brown. Good job. That's a great trade. You bought low on AJ Brown. People said, and maybe in your league this is true, but people say on the buys videos, yeah, nobody's selling at a discount after 1 week. But in casual leagues, yeah, it absolutely happens. Trust me. We see it a lot. Up 23, I have Swift. He has McCarthy, Jones, and Thielen. You honestly have a pretty good chance there, Rocky, I think. Where do you think Rice will rank if Worthy is gone when he's back? I think Rice is a top 15 wide receiver instantly the second he's back rest of the season. Top 15 easy. Might be top 12. He's going to eat there, dude. He's going to eat. Dak, Rodgers, or Herbert. I think I said Herbert on that one. With the Eagles trading for Bigsby, does that mean we should keep Tootin rostered? Yes, it does. I had planned to drop Tootin in the Flock League. I will now keep him rostered. Gotta see some more weeks from this. Can I buy Achane, Hall, and AJ Brown for Puka and Chuba? You can, but do you want to? I don't know if I'd give away Puka Nacua. He's a beast, man. Need 5 points from Lovin. Do I get it? I think it's going to be really close. I think you're going to be right there, Diogo. Colin says, I need -0.3 points from Aaron Jones. Let's hope he fumbles and gets benched. Samson or Benson? Ooh, both those guys are very close for me rest of the season. I would probably still say Samson because of the receiving upside there. Jamar Chase tanked this week. Did he go down in your rankings? Yeah. Well, he went down in my players I like on my fantasy team ranking. Yeah, drop a like if you're watching here. We got about 5 minutes till the game starts, but nice job, Tyler. Yeah, you killed it on that trade, man. What am I selling ETN for in Dynasty now? If you're contending, you can just hold them and flex them. But if you can sell them for any type of, first round pick, mid-first, I would definitely do that. So, out of Love, Nix, and Fields, I have to start 2. Who should I lock in as my starters rest of the season? I think it's going to be matchup dependent here, but I think you're probably looking at starting Nix and Fields most week with Love coming off the bench. But it is just 1 week, and so we'll see. I think again, you're going to decide on matchups there because those guys are all very close together. Trade Burrow, Hollywood, and Njoku for Jaden Daniels and Hawk. I would get Daniels' side. Chase, I have Chase and Chase Brown already. So you're really stacking there. That's an even trade, Smoke. I'd be okay if you did it. I mean, I think it's even, so. Diggs or Olave for Hawkinson, I have Kittle. No, I'm not giving up Olave for Hawk. Especially not before the game. From one Hoosier to another, go blue. Oh, gosh. Why do you live here if you're saying that? Come on, Tyler. Come on. We have an amazing home college in our state, dude. Good to see another. Yeah, I know. We got banners in the wall. Good to see you here, though, Tyler. Appreciate you, man. Would you consider moving Achane with the debacle going in Miami or hold still? I don't want to do this, Kyle, but I'm going to do it. Check out the video in the morning. You'll see the answer to that. It's very interesting. Nathan and I are a little bit split on it, but we're doing any trade questions tonight. Yeah, I do need to answer a couple trade questions real quick before we wrap up, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let me get this ready. Becca, do you know? Go to the Flock site. Go to flockfantasy.com. You're already there. Go to stream mode. Boom. And then go to settings. I'll do that. I'll just cancel out of that. There you go. Settings. I have to refresh. Press cancel out of that box. Yep. Settings. Turn off in progress. Boom. Refresh page. All right. Yep. If you could show them that would be fabulous. All right, wrap it up here with some trade questions here right before the game. Appreciate all you guys. Drop a like if you enjoyed the stream. Loved hanging out. That was honestly a fun stream. We had a trade go down while we were live, which is epic. Yeah, filter again by in progress, Becca. Just click off the in progress because you've got all the reviews in there. The settings, yeah. Boom, progress off. Becca, you did pretty good on that computer. I've not even been controlling things. All the things you're seeing, Becca has been doing. Honestly, she does all the videos, so she knows where we're getting all of our stats. I mean, honestly, I wish Scott would do that. But Scott just doesn't watch football, so. But that's crazy. You know more about football than Scott. Can we go to scores trade question here? Scores trade question. Quentin Johnson for a first. Oh my gosh. Take the first and run. That's not even close score. Confirmed picker left a super message for us. Who would you pick up for Kittle? I would say Harold Fannin Jr. is probably your top guy this week that you're picking up on waivers. Kyle Pitts is available. You could try that. But honestly, Harold Fannin's a guy. Let me look at the other tight ends that are trending. No, just click over on the side because I'm marking them on my end, so you can just keep going down. So yep. So Fannin, Jake Tongas, you could do Kittle's backup. Brenton Strange is a guy that's on waivers. So any of those three guys, I think, are going to be good options for you. It all is going to depend on how deep your league is, but yeah, definitely a good idea to pick those guys up. So, well, is it on the? I was gonna say I can see it right there. It's on preview. No. Well, the stream is, but yeah, you're good. If it's showing there, you're fine. Go to Humble Tectonics trade for me. Saquon Barkley for 2 firsts and Jarquez Hunter. So you're basically trading them for, if these are really early firsts, then Humble Tectonics, I'm probably okay with this. If they're from like the worst team in your league. I would like to get like Saquon plus another good player back. And so another idea we could have here is like the 26 early first. If we could just down tier. And honestly, I'd much rather get like Travis Hunter plus for Saquon. So let's try to do that as well, Humble Tectonics. Piss Missile's got a trade question. I love that username. That's so funny. So this is a redraft. This is a redraft 1 QB 10 team start 8. You'd be sending away AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker, and RJ Harvey. You'd be getting Ladd McConkey there. So you're pivoting from AJ to Ladd. You're getting Travion for Walker and Harvey. I mean, it's close. I think Ladd AJ Brown's lateral, and then I think Harvey and Walker for Henderson is a wash. You'd be selling low though on Harvey and Walker after 1 week. Of all the guys I'd want to invest in, I think Henderson's also still in a committee. He's still only got 35% of the snaps compared to like RJ Harvey's 29, right? And so, I would probably say I'm going to say it's even. I'm going to say if you get another piece back here, let's say, who do we want to get back here? Who do we want back? I just don't know who you're going to get back here to even it out. I'm just going to say it's even. I'm going to say I'm fine with the Piss Missile. I think if you want that, I'd be cool with it. Vice City 34, 14 team redraft here. It's a 1 QB start 7. Need a running back 2 would get Benson and Connor. Oh, you would get Benson and Connor in this deal as well. You're sitting Pacheco and DJ Moore for Jamison Williams, Connor and Benson. I would take the JMO side here. Yeah, I would take JMO here pretty easily, especially if you're getting Benson and Connor back. So, yeah, let's see. Dang, trade question from In Christians. Appreciate you, man. Wow, that's a big super chat. We appreciate you. Hopefully you're still here, man. That's very nice of you. Superflex Dynasty 12 team start 11 PPR. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on this one for In Christians. We appreciate that. I believe I can potentially contend this season with a top 15 wide receiver. I can offer a first or second for Garrett Wilson or 2 firsts for BTJ, or should I hold my picks and wait for next year, wait until midseason? Becca, will you click over on team? And then we're going to open up, I think it's Starvin Marvin is his team, because we've reviewed this team before. In Christians, are you still here in the chat? Let me know if you're here in Christians. Definitely, definitely want to make sure that I get your question answered here correctly. So I'm going to make sure. But assuming this is your team, I think it's Starvin Marvin. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think that's him. It could be him, honestly. That would honestly make sense. That's a good point, Becca. Good point. We're going to see if he's here, though. I'm going to message him if he's not here and ask him which team is his. So I'm going to skip that one. I want to answer that one correctly. So in Christians, if you are here, just let me know. And we'll answer that. Jason Fowler, appreciate you, man. I'm being asked this trade. My other running back is Kyron. My other wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Waddle, and Odunze. Okay, wow. So you're sending away Puka and Chuba. Oh my gosh. I don't think I'm doing this. I think I'd rather have Chuba and Puka. I think you honestly have the better side here. I would hold here, Jason. Here's the reason why. When you're looking at these two players, obviously you basically be swapping Puka for Chris McCaffrey. Puka had 23 points in week 1. Chris McCaffrey on 31 touches had 23 points. These guys both are producing at the same level. In Christians this year, sweet. Bang, bang, Niner game. What's up, Neil? Good to see you. All right. So to finish this question here real quick, though, I would hold your side. I would hold Puka and Chuba, because I think Chuba is much better than George Pickens at the moment in redraft. So great question, though. Appreciate you. All right. He said, bang, bang. Where are we at? So number 5 here in the power rankings. So looking at your team, you're talking about trading your first. So looking at the outlook of your team, you've got Daniels, you've got Matt Stafford, Jackson Dart at quarterback. Obviously some contending running backs. You've got Dylan Sampson there as well. Tetaroa, JSN, Egbuka, Pearsall. Also 4 contending. Honestly, I'm kind of with you. I think you can contend this year. If you can trade that first and a second for Garrett Wilson, I would do it. I would also trade the 2 firsts for BTJ. Honestly, I'd probably lean just trading your 2 firsts for BTJ. I think that's what I would do in Christians. Because really, when you're looking at your lineup, it is a start 11. That does kind of, let's count. Daniels and Dart, so we need 9 others. Bucky, Cook, and then T-Mac, JSN, Egbuka, Pearsall. Then you're starting one of Bateman every week. Bannon. And then you still are. So you're shallow here. But, like, let's look at some of the other teams in your league. Like, that top team has enough depth to contend for sure. The next team is about in the same situation as you. The team after that has enough depth to contend for sure. I think you could, it's a toss-up right now. I think you could do it and win some games. Let me look at the overall power rankings here. I think you'd be in the race. The problem is the top 3 teams in your league are so stacked. So this is a tricky one, but I know that's why you're asking. I think if you do want to contend this year, there are more moves you have to make. I think you would have to down tier from Jaden Daniels here. I think you have to get 3 players back in that deal. You have an extra first. You'd have to move that first as well. That first is shaken. Oh, you can't move that shake and bake first. Man, you are so close. This is a non-answer, but it's an answer that I think is honestly how I would approach this here, Neil. What I would do here is I would wait and see what your record is after the first 3 or 4 weeks and then go from there. So if you end up winning 3 games of your first 4, then I'm definitely going to contend to get in the playoffs and give myself a chance of winning. But you do have to make other moves to match, even get close to the depth of the other guys, which is a good indicator typically for us that you need to wait a year and just stack value. And then you're going to be equivalent to those guys if you make all the right moves. I would say at the 2 firsts for BTJ is just, that's really good. But if your first is going to be even early, honestly, BTJ probably puts you in contention, like true contention. You get BTJ for the first, and then you down to from Daniels. I think you're contending this year, and I think you would go for it. I would honestly be totally cool if you did that, Neil. So that's my answer. You have to make other moves if you want to do that, but it still might be worth it. Appreciate you a ton, man. Again, thank you so much for your super chat, for your tip. We appreciate that a ton. Okay, and then that is a team review, so we should be good. Check on my end that no other ones came in. The game should be starting. It's 8:21, so we are going to rock and roll our way out of here. Sure. Appreciate you guys all jumping on. This was fun. Obviously loved having the trade go down. We will be live tonight after the game for reaction as well. So be tuned in. I hope to see you here right after the game. We appreciate you guys. Have fun watching the game. We'll have a video coming out tonight, I think, after the game as well as when we're going to release it. So have fun. Peace out. We'll see you in a couple hours.